This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So in the last session, we have started with the native HANA development. Okay, so let's continue from that. We have seen how to create the table, and I think we have seen how to insert the data into the table. So let me open HANA Studio. So this is HANA Studio. Right, HANA Studio is open. So once HANA Studio is open, the last class we learned that it contains different perspectives. Okay, development perspective, modular perspective, ABAP perspective. Okay, so as of now we are in development perspective. So for doing this native HANA development, we require what? A development perspective. Okay, so anyhow we are in the development perspective. If you are not in the development perspective, we can switch between the perspective by clicking on this button. So on the top right hand corner you can see we have debug perspective, ABAP perspective, development perspective, modular perspective. Okay, so I'm in the development perspective. Then in the systems tab, this is my instance of the database. We need to connect to the HANA database. So native HANA development means we need to develop the objects related to what? HANA database. So we have different database objects, tables, sequences, views, synonyms, triggers, okay, column views. So let me connect to the HANA database. So I'll right click on this instance, which will be available by default. So I'm in the systems tab. Right click on this instance and I'll say log on. Provide the credentials for your database user. So I'll provide my credentials. Then it is successfully connected. Then we have one subfolder called as what here catalog. Okay, so in this catalog it will show you what different schemas. So last class we understood that schema is a logical container of what? A database objects, and we also understood that a default schema will be available, will be created on behalf of what? Logged in user. So I logged into which database user? HANA database user. Okay, HANA database user. So you'll have what? One default schema with that name. Okay, so 1 second. Yeah, may I know who is this logged in by name? Ventesh? Ventesh? Hello? Okay, fine. So a default schema will be created on behalf of the logged in user with the same name as that of what? Username. Done. So what I'll do is, since I want to do the native HANA development, we require what? A SQL console. So what is my logged in username here, HANA? So a default schema will be available with the name of what? User. So we have this HANA user here, sorry, HANA schema here. Now let me open the SQL console. So how to open the SQL console? Right click on your schema. So as of now in the last class we created what? Gems of SQL schema. But here what I'll do is wanted list. This is my HANA schema. I'll right click on this. I'll try to open the SQL console. So I'll right click on the HANA. I'll say open SQL console. Done. It has opened. Okay, it has opened the SQL console. Done. So this is the SQL console open on behalf of which schema here? HANA schema. Done. So first what I'll do is, once again we'll see how to create our own schema. How to create the schema, because I want to store all my objects in my schema. So I'll try to create a schema. So I'll say create schema. I'll give the schema name as something Gensoft HANA. Okay, create schema Gensoft HANA. Done. Okay, how do we execute any statement? Just select the statement and press what? F8. Okay, in the right hand corner you can see we have the execute button here. I'll just click on execute. Yeah, schema is successfully created. So you can see at the bottom the statement is successfully executed. Schema got created. So somewhere in the catalog folder only, if I refresh, I'll right click on the catalog folder. I'll say refresh. Done. So you can see here a schema got created with the name of Gensoft HANA. As part of this schema, as of now, we don't have any tables. So you can see here we don't have any tables here. Fine, leave it. But this is a SQL console which is opened on behalf of which schema? HANA schema. Why? Because we right clicked on the HANA schema and I opened the SQL console. So this SQL console got opened on behalf of what? On behalf of what? This HANA schema. Done. Now what I'll do is let me quickly create the table. Already we have seen how to create the table. So I'll say here create table. I'll give the table name as something test emp10. Create table test emp10. 1 second please. 1 second. Just hold on. Yeah, sorry. So what we are doing now, we are trying to create a table. I'll give the table name as something test emp10. Done. Let me open this. Okay, I'm trying to create the table. I'll give some two columns. I'll give it as emp id. Let me give it as integer. I'll give another column employee name. I'll give the data type as something varchar of something 20. Varchar of 20. Done. Close it. I can write everything in the same line, but just to increase the readability, I'm putting in separate lines. Then the table will be created. Let me execute. Select the block of statements, press F8. The table got created. So let us understand where this table got created. Okay, so before this, I created a schema what Gensoft HANA, but while creating this object, I mean to say, while creating this table, I have not mentioned in which schema this table has to be created. So let's go and check. This is my Gensoft HANA schema which just now we created. I'll right click on this. I'll say refresh. Before I open, I'm refreshing it. Then if I try to open the table section, there are no tables available. So what is the meaning? This table is not created on behalf of the schema Gensoft HANA. Let me check in the HANA schema. I'll expand the HANA here. HANA schema. Expand tables. Okay, there are already some tables available here. Yeah, you can see we have created the table what test emp10. So what is the meaning? If I don't mention the schema name, and when we execute that above SQL statement, what happened? SAP has created what a table as part of which schema? Default schema. What is the default schema opened here? HANA schema. So it has opened. Let me understand whether this table is column store table or row store table. How do you check it? Right click on the table and say what? Open definition. You can see now at the right hand corner the type of the table is what? Row store. So if you don't mention the type of the table, whether it is row store or column store table, by default it has created as what? Row store table. And where it got saved in the default schema. What is the default schema in this context? ANA. Fine. That we know. Now what I want is I want to insert the data into this table. So in the last class we use something called as what insert statement. We have seen how to insert the data. Now quickly what I'll do is I'll try to create one file. Okay, I try to create one local file, and from that local file I want to import the data. So my table contains how many columns? So two columns. So keeping my table structure in mind, I'll try to create one local file. I'll try to create one local file. So see this. One second. Yeah. So on my desktop, I'll try to create the file. One second. Okay. So I'll just create. I'll open the Excel file. Excel here. Done. So I'll create a blank Excel worksheet. So as part of this table, let me wantedly maintain some column names. I'll give something employee number. This I'll give it as EMP name. Then I'll give some data here. Right. So I'm maintaining some data. Done. Let me save it. Okay, I'll try to save this file. Save as. Let me save it on the desktop. Yeah. I'll give the name of the file as something my employee. My employee. I can save it as Excel workbook. Okay, I can save it as .xls, or let me try to save it as comma delimited. Okay, so what is that I'm doing? Comma delimited. Okay, if I save it as Excel workbook, it will save it as .xls. So from the Excel, I'm trying to save it as comma delimited. Wanted I'm saving it as comma delimited. What is the name of the file? My employee. I'll save it. Some features in your workbook might be lost if you save it as a comma delimited. Do you want to keep using this format? No. I'll just say no. I'll just cancel. Done. Yeah, it will be created. Let me check. What is it? Yeah, you can see on the desktop a file got created. What is that? My employee. If I double click, I am able to open that. Let me check whether I can open it in Notepad because I saved it as a .csv. I'll try to open it in Notepad. All files. Yeah, my employee. Yeah, I'm able to open in Notepad also because I saved it as a .csv. If I would have saved it as .xls, I cannot open that in the Notepad file. Done. So, what is that understanding of the file here? The first record, if you observe, this is not the data, na? This is column heading. This is column heading. Remember that. Okay. Done. Okay. Right. Now, what is my requirement? So we have the table available here. Now, from this particular local file, I want to upload the data into this particular table. What is the table? Test emp10. Where this table is available, I mean to say in which schema it is available. It is available in the HANA schema. The table name is test emp10. So let me try to import that. So it's a very simple navigation. I'll choose the menu file. I'll choose the menu file. Then here we have the option what import. Okay, file import. Done. Somewhere here you can see we have SAP HANA content. SAP HANA content. I'll expand this. Okay, SAP HANA content. Then I'll choose what? Data from what? Local file. Data from local file. Then I'll browse for the file. Yeah, data from the local file. Then I'll say next. Done. Select the system where you want to import to. I want to import to what? HANA database only. So I'll choose my system name, which is HDB here. I'll say next. Done. Yeah, you can see the properties here. Select the CSV or Excel file. Select the CSV or Excel file. So understanding is the file should be either .csv or what, Excel file. It is asking us to select the file here. So let me browse. What is the file name? My employee. Yeah, my employee is the name of the file. I'll just do that, my employee.csv. Done. Yeah, it is asking the delimiter here. Delimiter. Yeah, by default it is comma delimiter. I'm choosing comma delimiter. Done. Acha, you can see here we have one checkbox here. Header row exists. In my file, the first line is not the data, no, it is only an column headings. So it should not be considered as a data. So for that reason, I'll select the checkbox what header row exists. Header row will always be the first line in your file. Okay, so I'll just select this header row exists. Yeah, header row is what one only, and you can see here import all the data starting from which line, second line. Since I selected this header row checkbox, automatically is giving the starting line as true, ending line will take by default. Done. And you can see here into which table you want to import it, whether you want to create a new schema and import into that particular table, or you want to go for existing one, existing table only enough. So I'll choose existing. I'll choose the radio button existing. I'll select the table, where it is available. It is showing me all the schemas here. Let me select my schema. What is that schema? ANA schema. Done. Yeah, it is, you can observe here. In this ANA schema, or you take any schema, it will contain different database objects like tables, views, sequences, synonyms, triggers. It is not showing me all the database objects, it is showing me only what table here. So I'll just select table, done. I'll give the name of the, sorry, I'll select the what? Yes, Sandeep, tell me. Yeah, Sandeep, tell me. Yeah, yeah. You attend the session. After the session, I'll give my number. You can call me. Okay. After the session, I'll speak to you. Right. Right. So I'll choose my target table here. What is my target table? This is my ANA schema tables. In the table section, I'll choose a table name. Test CMP10 is my table name. I'll just choose it. Say OK. That's all. You can see it. ANA.testCMP. They are enclosing the schema name in double quotes. ANA.testCMP. I'll say next. Yeah. You can see manage the table definition for the new tables and source target column mappings. Yeah. You can see left hand side here. What are the column headings in your file? Employee number and employee name. What are the columns in my table? EMP ID and what? E-name. EMP ID and E-name. So what I have to do? I have to do the mapping. So I'll just drag this. I'll try to drop it here. Done. It is mapped. Then I'll just map this employee name. It is mapped. Okay. So employee number is mapped with EMP ID and the EMP name heading is mapped with what? E-name. And this is my data here, which is selected. I'll say next. Done. Yeah. You can see the source file name is myemployee.csv. Target table name is test emp10. Target table schema is what? ANA. Just a finish. Yeah, you can see it has given the job log here bottom. What is this? Importing flat file completed successfully. So what we learned is we have seen how to create the table. Okay, we have created the table and this table got created in the default schema. What is the default schema for your logged in user? ANA schema. Why it got stored in the ANA schema? Because I have not qualified, I have not prefixed my table name with the schema name. So if you don't prefix, it is going to what, save that particular table in the logged in schema, the logged in user schema, which is ANA schema. Then we have created one file and we have seen how to import the data from that file to the target table. Now let me try to get the data from this. So I'll say select. How to get the data? I can use a select statement, or I can go to my ANA schema. This is my table. If I expand this, this is a table test emp10. So when I right click, I'll say open data preview. Yeah, what happened? The entire data got imported. Entire data got imported. Now my requirement is, just observe here. I have created one schema just now. What is that schema? Gensoft HANA. If I expand the tables here, this schema doesn't have any tables. So if I refresh, you can see it is not showing me any tables in the Gensoft HANA schema. So my requirement is whatever the table is there in the HANA schema. I mean to say test EMP10. This table I want to create in what the new schema. What is the new schema? Gensoft HANA. Okay, so I want to create a column store table now. What is the definition of this table? If you see the definition of this table, it is what? Row store table. And this table is stored in which schema? ANA schema. So based on this table, I want to create the table in what? Gensoft ANA schema. But I want to create it as what? Column table. So last class someone has asked me, how do you create a table based on the existing table? Okay, so as of now I want to create the same table structure, in the sense this employee tst emp10 has got what? Two columns. In my target table also I want to create the same two columns. So how do you create? Just observe here. Okay, create. I want to create what table? Column table. So I have to say create column table. If I don't use this column keyword, what happens? It will create by default what? Row store table. So I want to create column store table. So I'll say create column table. Again, if you just try to give the table name, what happens? Again, this table gets created in the default schema, which is ANA. But I want to create in which schema? Gensoft ANA. So what I'll do? Create table, create column table Gensoft HANA dot. It is better, it is recommended to enclose your schema name and the database objects in what? Double quotes. It is not mandatory, but it is a general recommendation. So Gensoft HANA. Here also I'll give the table name as test emp10. I can give any table name, but I'm doing it as test emp10. Okay. As what I want to create it based on what? Existing table. So I'll say somewhere here as what? Select star from. Select start from. Where is the target? Where is the source table? In the ANA schema. So select start from. Here I'll say ANA dot what? Test emp. So what I'm trying to do, based on the existing table definition, based on the existing table definition, I'm trying to create a new table. So let me check it now. I'll execute this. Create column table, table name as select start from test emp10. Test emp10 table has got two fields, two columns with some 5 records. I'll execute that F8. You can see at the bottom the table is successfully created. Let me check it in my target schema. What is the target schema here? Gensoft HANA. What is the table? Let me refresh. I'll right click on the tables. I'll say refresh. Done. The table got created. Let me check the definition. I'll right click on the table. I'll say open definition. Then the table got created in this schema Gensoft HANA. What is the table type here? Column store table. Let me check whether data is copied here. Already in the ANA schema, this table has got how many records? Some 5 records. So I have created this new table test CMP10 Gensoft HANA. I want to check whether data is copied or not. So I'll right click on this. I'm in schema now, Gensoft HANA. Right click on the table. I'll say open data preview. Okay, so what happened? The table got what? Sorry, the table got the data also got what? Copied. Yeah, Sandeep, we have not yet discussed, what is the difference between row store and column store. Whenever it is required, I'll discuss. Okay, I have not discussed for anyone. Right, so the table got what? Created. The table got created along with the data. So what happened here? On executing this particular SQL statement, It has created one column store table in the Gensoft HANA schema, copying the definition as well as the data. Copying the definition as well as the data. So what I am doing here, I am prefixing my table name with what? With what? Schema name. So I believe last class I told you, instead of qualifying this database object every time with the schema name, what I want to create all the objects inside with schema Gensoft HANA. So what you will do here, I can set what? Set the schema. So somewhere here I'll say, I'll take the question, just a minute, set schema Gensoft HANA. Okay, so what is the advantage of using this statement? Every time, instead of qualifying, instead of prefixing the object name with the schema name, just we can set this schema for the entire session. Actually, this session is opened on behalf of which user? ANA user. What is the schema for that ANA user? The schema name is also what? ANA. So by default, this session is for what? ANA schema. But I want to create all the objects in my own schema. So what I did here, for the entire session, I can say what? Set schema so and so. So I'm just executing this effect. Yeah, the schema has been what? Set. Now we are in, okay, this is just try to understand Gensoft HANA schema. In this Gensoft HANA schema, we have the table what? Test emp10. Let me refresh once again. Refresh. The table is available. The data is also available. Now what I'll do is just try to understand. I'll say drop table. Okay, I'll give the table name. What is that? Test emp10. So you can observe here, I'm trying to drop the table. I'm trying to drop the entire table definition. So here I'm not giving the schema name. If I don't give the schema name, if I don't prefix the object name with the schema name, what happens? It will check whether any schema is set for the session. Yes, a schema has been set for the session. What is that schema? Gensoft HANA. So it would drop this particular table from which schema? Gensoft HANA. Let us confirm it. I'll try to execute this. I'll say fit. The table has been dropped. Now I'll try to refresh here. I'm in the Gensoft on left hand side. I'm in the Gensoft HANA schema. I'll right click on the tables. I'll say what? Refresh. I'll say refresh. Okay, the table is not available now. So what I'm trying to share is, it is checking for this table in the schema which is set for your session. What is the schema here? Gensoft HANA. If I would have not executed this, what happens? It would have checked for this table in the default schema. What is the default schema? ANA. Acha, I'll do one thing. Let me go to the ANA schema and check whether the table is still available. This is the ANA schema. This is a table. I'll just refresh. I click on this. I'll say refresh. Done. So what is that? Test emp10 is still is available. So it is not deleted from what? ANA schema. It has deleted from the Gensoft ANA schema. Okay. So I'll just summarize this once again. We have opened the SQL console on behalf of which schema? ANA schema. What I did is, I logged into ANA user. Then somewhere here I said in the catalog, I said what? Right clicked on that. I opened the SQL console. That SQL console got opened on behalf of the logged in user. Logged in user name is what? ANA. So based on that username, a schema also will be available with the same name. So this session got opened on behalf of what? ANA schema. Done. Then what we did, we created the table. I have not mentioned the type of table. If I don't mention the type of the table, it will create it as what? Row store table. The table got created. Then what we did, we have created one file. It can be Excel file or a CSV file, whatever it is. I created that in my local system. Then we have seen how to import the data from that particular local file to your table. We have imported. Then what we did, we are trying to create a new table. What type of table? Column table based on the existing table. And that column table I want to create in my own schema. That is the reason I am prefixing my table name with what? Schema name. So this syntax, this statement, whenever I executed, what happened? It has created a new table along with the definition as well as the data. Both the definition and data will be copied. Then what I want, I don't want to prefix my object name every time with the schema name. So what we can do, for the entire session we can set the schema. That is done by using a statement what? Set schema. Then we try to drop the table. it has dropped the table from the Gensoft HANA schema. Okay, so this is what we covered so far. Any questions, please ask me. Yes, Sandeep, tell me. Any questions? You can unmute and speak. You can unmute and speak. Yeah, you'll have the standard documentation for this. You'll have a standard PDF. I'll share that PDF. Just like in our ABAP environment, we press F1, it will open the online help. Here also, you'll have the complete documentation in the HANA Studio. Okay, I'll show you that anyhow. I can go to this help, I can check for what this SAP portal. You'll get all the entire documentation. Okay, so anyway, I'll share that PDF. You can just refer to that PDF, which contains all the SQL statements with the syntax. So my suggestion is never try to remember the syntaxes. We have too many statements. We cannot remember each and every syntax, but remember the main thing. Suppose here we have create. So related to this create now, we can create tables, we can create the views, we can create the triggers, we can create the procedures, we can create the functions like that. For different objects, you'll have different syntaxes. So never try to buy out the syntax. You'll come by practice only. Yes, the last class I told this SQL is the standard language for communicating with the databases, and this SQL is further classified into a different sub language like DDL, data definition language, data manipulation language, okay, transaction control language, data control language. Okay, so under DDL statements, we'll have what? DDL means data definition language. We have create, alter, drop. Okay, understood. If you take DML, we have insert, update, delete. If you take TCL, transaction control language, we have commit, rollback, save point. If you take DCL, data control language, we have grant and revoke. Like that, SQL is a standard language for communicating with the database. This SQL is classified into what different sub languages like DDL, DML, DCL, and TCL, and DRL also, which is a data retrieval language. Select statement comes under that category. DRL, data retrieval language. Yeah. Any questions in this part? Please ask me. Anyone?
Sridhar, last
Yeah.
session I started practice the session and
Uh-huh.
I tried different scenarios. Like once
Uh-huh.
I created a table in SAP HANA Studio.
Uh-huh.
Uh, will it be created in normal SE11 table? Can we check in the SE11 table? I think it
Not
is not
able.
right.
Not.
No.
Not possible.
no.
Not possible. It will not be available.
Okay.
Because this whatever we are doing the native HANA development, this table gets stored directly in the database. Gets stored directly in the database. If you try to access it from SC11, which is the application server, right? So we don't have that copy in the application server, so we cannot see that. Not every table we can see. Going forward, we have a concept called as configured schema. So whatever we create in the database, some objects we can access it through SC11. What are those things? We'll understand shortly.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Others? Any other doubts?
Yeah, hi. Instead of that, suppose we have created one table in one schema. Let's say in a HANA schema. So
Okay.
then we just created the column table and from we just copied from one schema to another schema. So instead of
Correct.
doing this, can we remove this table from HANA and directly move it to Gensoft schema instead of this?
Yeah. Here you can say, okay. Your question is you want to delete the table from the HANA schema, right?
It is directly to that cut from that from HANA schema to and paste it to um, Gensoft schema. So is that possible?
Sorry. Can you please repeat? I lost your question.
Yeah. Suppose in that, line number 9, we have created the column table, Gensoft
Correct.
HANA,
Correct.
and select star from that
From. Okay.
HANA schema to that, or Gensoft schema. So all that
Correct.
column we copied and pasting and creating one more table to
Correct.
Gensoft HANA
Hmm.
schema. So in
Okay.
that scenario, there are two tables created. One is in
Okay.
Gensoft HANA and one is
Hmm.
HANA schema.
Okay.
So instead of doing this two table, so can we transport this table from one schema to another schema?
So
That it will not be.
your question is you want to what remove it from the source and keep it only in the target, right? So
Yes, yes.
in this case, what is happening is it is not disturbing the table in the ANA schema. It is directly what making a copy of that and creating that in the target schema. No, that is not possible directly. It will never remove it from the source. We don't have any statement which will do the two things. It will not remove it from the source and paste it in the target. It will make a copy from the source. It will make a copy of the source object and then create that in the target schema. But we don't have any statement which will delete from the source and creates in target. We don't have. The only solution is after creating it, you need to drop it from the source explicitly by using what drop command. I have to say drop table ana.testcmp10. Then only it will be deleted. Till that point of time, a copy will be maintained in the source also. Is it clear, Roy?
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Is it possible without data? Creation of only
Yeah,
definition is required.
I'll come to that. I'll come to that. So this statement, it has copied the definition as well as the data. So my requirement is, anyhow, we have the table in the ANA schema now. I want to create only the definition without the data. So once again, before I execute this, let me close this sessions just to avoid the confusion. I'm just closing this things. So we are in ANA schema now. Just try to understand left hand side. This is my table which is available. I'll right click on the table. The data is available. Okay, data is available in the ANA schema along with the definition. Now let me go to target schema which is Gensoft ANA. If I expand this under tables, you can see. Let me right click and refresh. We don't have any table now. So my requirement now is what? This Gensoft ANA this test EMP10 table which is available in the ANA schema. I want to create it in what? I want to make a copy of that in the target schema, but without what? Data. So very simple, very simple. Just see this. What is that? Create column table. I need not prefix with what? Schema name, because if you prefix also no problem. But anyhow, we have set this schema for what? Gensoft ANA. For this session, we have set the schema for Gensoft ANA. So if you don't prefix with the schema name, what is the default behavior? It will check whether any schema is set. Yes, the schema is set. So create column table, test CMP10 as select star from. This table is available in what? Other schema. Na? So I have to prefix this. Done. But I don't want the data. So here I'll use the addition call as with no data. With no data. That is the only change. Earlier what happened, it will copy both the definition and the data. Now I'm trying to create only the definition but not the data. Let me try to execute. Then the table got created. Okay. So what happened on executing the above SQL statement? It has created one column store table test EMP10 in the Gensoft ANA schema, copying only the definition of the source table but without the data. So let us cross check it. So I'm in Gensoft ANA left hand side. This is my table. Right click on this. I'll say refresh. Done. The table would be created. Table is available. So the table definition will be available. I'll open the definition. Yes, the table definition is available. Done. I'll try to preview the data. I click on this. I'll say open data preview. What happened? Data would not be copied. So what is the simple change? We have to use what? With no data. Hope it's clear, Shiva.
Yes, Sridhar. Thank you.
Any other doubts, others? Okay. Now just observe this. This is a table I created. What is the table? Test EMP10, which is available in which schema now? Gensoft and a schema. What is the table type here? The table type is column store. The table type is column store. Now my requirement is I want to change the category of the table. I mean to say I want to change the type of the table. As of now it is column store. I want to change it to what? Row store. So what I'll do here? See this. I'll use a DDL statement called as what? Alter. So far I used create and drop. Create drop also comes under DDL. Okay, now I'm using alter. Alter also comes under DDL statements, data definition language statements. So alter table, what is the table name? Test EMP10. Okay, I'll just say simply what? Row. Alter table name row. So what happens now? On executing this SQL statement, SAP alters the table type from what? Column store to what? Row store. Let me check. I'll execute this F8. Okay, done. It might have executed. It is successfully executed. Let me go to the definition here. It is column store. I need to refresh once. On the right hand corner we have a refresh button F5. When I refresh, it is refreshing. Yeah, you can see now it is changed to what? Row store. Can you get it back to again column store? Yes, same syntax, but instead of row, I need to say what? Column. Means at any point of time we can change the type of the table. We can change the type of the table. So alter table, table name is what? So and so column. I'll say execute. Done. If you see the definition here, when I refresh, then it has changed to what? Columns to. Yes, Sandeep, any questions? No, I'm not executing all the statements. That is why I'm selecting only this statement. Na? If I don't select the statement, if I say F8, yes, all the statements will be executed. You will get the error saying that cannot use duplicate name because already we have created. That is the reason I want to execute a particular statement in my SQL console. That is the reason I'm selecting the statement and executing. Every time we have to execute, obviously, right? It is a new statement. It is a new statement I want to execute. So I'm executing. If I don't select this block, if I directly say F8, again the entire statements in the SQL console will be executed. Okay, you'll get errors because already they got created. You'll get an error what cannot use duplicate names, all those things. That is the reason you select and execute. Done. So if you see this particular ANA user, the ANA schema, in the ANA schema we have this particular data. Okay, how many records are there? 5 records are there. I want to delete a record here. Okay, the table is available in the ANA schema. I want to delete a record. What is that record? Suppose I want to delete the record wherever the employee ID is equal to what? 3. So very simple statement. What is the statement? We have to use a DML statement, data manipulation language. Delete from if I set test emp10, what happens? It will check for this table in the current schema which is set. What is the Gensoft and a table is available, but my Gensoft and a schema, this table doesn't have any data. Now if I refresh, this doesn't have any data, but it is available in what? ANA schema. So that is the reason I'll qualify, I'll prefix this particular table name with what? ANA. Create table ana.testemp number testemp10 where what? Emp id is equal to what? 3. So I'm using the where statement. If I don't use the where statement, what happens? All the records gets what? Deleted. I want to delete a specific record, so I'm using some where class. So when I execute, it might have deleted. If you go back to this 5 records are there. If I refresh, it would have deleted from the table. Okay, the third record got executed. Okay, I want to update. Suppose what I want, yeah, employee ID 4 is there here. Try to understand. Employee ID 4 is there. What is the current name here? Something Kiran. Current name is Kiran. I want to change it to some other thing. Okay, so what I'll do here, I want to update the record. How do we update the existing record? Simple statement. Already most of you might be knowing that. Update. Why I'm prefixing with the schema name? Because my current schema table doesn't have the data. That's the reason I'm prefixing that. Update so and so test emp10 set what? Employee name is equal to I will give some name. Let me give it as something Praveen, or I'll give it as something Praveen Kumar. Okay, where what? EMP ID is equal to what? 4. Where EMP ID is equal to what? 4. Done. Update table name set ename equal to Praveen Kumar, where EMP ID equal to 4. Let me execute this. I'll say F8. Right, it got updated. So let me refresh and check. When I refresh here, yes, it got refreshed. That Kiran got modified to what? Praveen Kumar. Okay. Now I'll do one thing. As of now, we have how many records? Some 4 records. 4 records. I'll say 1 second, please. Yeah. I'll say here delete already covered. No, yeah. I'll say delete. Delete. Done. I'm not giving a where condition. So what happens? It will delete what? All the records in the table, because you have not used a delete statement. Sorry, where statement. So when I execute this, all the records might be deleted. Rows affected is what? 4. Rows affected is 4. If you go back here, if I refresh, all the records are what? Deleted. All the records are deleted. Okay, so what we are trying to understand is create, alter, drop. They come under which statement? DDL. And this delete update comes under what? DML, data manipulation language. Okay, now what I'll do is 1 second. 1 second, let me close everything. Let me go back to my scene. We have only one table. Okay, let me quickly create the table. Just observe this. I'll create one more table. I'll create one table. Let me give it as 11 or 12, whatever it is. Create table test emp12. Done. Okay, employee ID so and so, employee name so and so. I'll give it as what? Primary key. Just try to understand. I'm giving it as what? Primary key constraint. Okay, employee ID, I'm giving it as primary key. F8, the table would be created. So you can see at the bottom, it is still executing. It's still executing. Yeah, it has created. Let me check that. I'll refresh. Yeah, it has refreshed. So if I open the table definition, yeah, the table got created with what? Primary key. Let me quickly insert the records. Okay, I'll quickly insert the records. I want to show you something here. Let me insert the data. How do we insert the data? Last class I believe I covered. We have to use what? Insert statement. Insert into what is the test emp12. Test emp12 values. How many columns are there in the table? 2 columns. So employee number, I'll give 1, and this I'll say Ramesh 1. Done. Let me insert some records. I'm trying to insert some 5 records. So insert also comes under what? DML, data manipulation language. So I'm trying to insert 5 records. Execute. Yeah. Okay, all the 5 records are what? Created. Let me check the data. Right click on the table. I'll say open data preview. Yes, 5 records are created. Now what I'll do, I'll try to insert one more record. I'll give insert into test emp12 values 5. I'll give this as something Ramesh 6. So I'm expecting an error here. Why? Because EMP ID is not primary key. What is the formula for primary key? It cannot accept duplicate values. It cannot accept null values. 5 is already available in the table now, so I'm trying to insert what? Duplicate entry. So when I execute, good. You can observe here, just try to understand this error. Insert into so and so values. Unique constraint violated. Primary key constraint is a combination of what? Unique constraint plus not null constraint. Unique constraint plus not null constraint. So you can see here, it is showing the something here. What is this? Underscore sys underscore tree underscore rs underscore hash 4224380. Some information is showing here. We'll come back to this. Okay, I'm unable to insert the duplicate entry. I'll do one thing. Control C. Yeah, here I'll say insert into test emp12. I want to insert the data only for employee name. So how do we insert the data for a specific column? You have to mention the column name now. So I'll say insert into test emp12 employee name values. Since I mentioned that column name, I'll try to insert only the employee name. I'll give MS6. This also should not be allowed. This also should not be executed because we cannot give what? Null values for what? Primary key column, because primary key constraint is a combination of what? Unique constraint plus not null constraint. So earlier I got there what? Unique constraint violated. Now I'm trying to insert the null value. Okay. So when I try to execute this, I'm going to say F8. Good. You can see here I got an error. Cannot insert null or update to null EMP ID. So EMP ID is the primary key, which is a combination of unique plus what? Not null. Now what I want to show is, so we understood how to insert the data. We understood why it is not allowing duplicate values or null values, because we imposed a primary key constraint. I impose the primary key constraint. Now what I want is, I want to remove that constraint. Am I clear? Already the table is available. At the time of creating the table only, I imposed some constraints. Okay, I imposed some constraints. What is that constraint I imposed here? Primary key constraint. So I want to remove that particular constraint. I mean to say, I want to drop that particular constraint. So if you want to drop that constraint, I should know the constraint name. Am I clear to everyone? I want to drop that constraint. So if you want to drop the constraint, we should know the constraint name. But at the time of creating that primary key constraint, I have not given any constraint name. Okay. So if I don't give the constraint name, what happens? SAP itself, SAP itself will provide some constraint name. Okay. So how do I know that constraint name? Just observe this. I'll say select star from, try to understand, select star from, I will use something called as constraints. Select star from constraints, spelling is right, constraints. Select star from constraints, where, okay, I'll do one thing. I'll just say select star from constraint. Let's see what happens when I execute this. When I say fit, it is giving me what? Too many records. It has given me many records. Okay, so you can see some of the columns here. Select star from constraints, you can observe here. What is that? Some of the columns names are what? Schema underscore name. Just here. Schema underscore name, table underscore name. Schema underscore name and what? Table underscore name. Okay. So I came to know some columns name. Schema underscore name and table underscore name. So what is my requirement? I want to know the constraints imposed on my table. What is my table? Test EMP 12. In which schema it is available? Gensoft around Lina. So what I will do here, I'll just select start from, try to understand, select start from constraints, select start from constraints, where what the column just now we observed schema underscore name, sorry, schema underscore name is equal to, what is my schema? Gensoft HANA, okay, and I'm using the and logical condition, and what is the other column? Table underscore name equal to, what is my table name? Test EMP 12. So I'm doing further filtering by using the where condition. Select start from constraints, where schema underscore name equal to gensoft HANA and table underscore name equal to test EMP 12. So when I try to execute, when I say F8, done. Yeah, it has given me some records here. Just observe. What is the schema name? Gensoft HANA. What is the table name? Test EMP12. What is the column name? EMP ID. Okay, there are some other information here. You can see it. This is the constraint name itself. This is the constraint name underscore system. How this name is generated is not our headache. SAP itself has generated that internally. How it is generating is out of our discussion. We cannot know that. So what is understand? What I'm trying to tell here is I created the table with what one primary key constraint. This syntax has not allowed me to provide my user defined constraint name. So in this case, what happened? The constraint names will be proposed by what? SAP itself. SAP itself will propose a constraint name. And how do I know that constraint name? I am querying it from a system view. This constraints is what? Where is that? Sorry. This constraints is what? It's a system view, means a built-in view. It's a built-in view. Okay, from that I am trying to check the constraint. So what is my requirement now? I want to drop the constraint. Okay, so what this query will do, it will return the constraints available on your table. What type of constraints? Primary key constraints, not null constraints, unique constraints. What are you defined in the table, it is going to remove it. Now I want to drop. Now, so how do you drop? Alter table. First of all, I should know the constraint name. This is the constraint name. Let me double click on this. Can I double click? Yeah, I'm able to double click. Let me copy this. I'm just copying this. Control C. Okay, this is the constraint name. I want to drop it. So how do you drop the constraint here? See, alter table. Earlier I used the alter command to change the type of the table from column store to row store, or from row store to column store. Now I am using the alter statement to drop one of the constraints imposed on my table. So alter table, what is the table name? So test emp12, test emp12, drop constraint, drop constraint, alter table, table name, drop constraint. What is the constraint name? This is a constraint name. Done. That's it. Okay, so let me try to execute this now. F8. Yeah, the table is successfully altered. Let me query this once again. I'll query this once. I can directly execute from there, but since I have to send this as an attachment to you, I'm copying it once again. Okay, I can directly execute from here only, but since I have to send it in the notes, you practice in the same sequence. That's why I copied once again here. So earlier it has shown me one constraint. So when I try to execute now, when I say F8, then there are no constraints available on my table. Now I'll try to insert what? Duplicate values. I'll try to insert duplicate values. So what I'll do here, I'll just copy this. Already 5 is there in the table. Already 5 is there in the table. I'll try to insert one more record. Insert into so and so values. Employee ID is 5 only. I'll give the employee name as something Ramesh 55. Okay, I'll try to execute this. F8. Yes, it has inserted. Check the table now. Okay, already 5 is there. I'll refresh. Yes, again it has inserted. Is accepting what? Duplicate value. I'll try to insert null value. I'll say insert into what? Test emp12. I want to insert the data blank value for employee number, employee ID. So I'll say employee name, values. What is this? Values done. Here I'll say Ramesh what? Something 6. Ramesh 6. That's all. Okay, done. So what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to insert null value for what? Employee ID. So when I execute this, oh, what happened? Cannot insert. Why I got that error? Cannot insert null or update to null. Why like that? Hmm? Why it is doing like that? Cannot insert null or update to null. Employee 12. What is the reason? I'll refresh. Okay. insert into test emp12 employee name only, values run is 6. One second. This is a table definition. Refresh. I'm refreshing it. Good, 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 good. Yeah, you can see here. What is the reason here? See, observe this. I deleted what here? I said drop constraint name. Na? Drop constraint name. So if you see the definition of the table, this key was selected earlier, it was removed, but not null is still available here. You understood? So this statement has removed me only what? Has removed only the unique constraint on that. It has not really deleted what? Not null constraint. Am I clear to everyone? Why it is not allowing me? Why it is not allowing me to delete what? Sorry, to insert null value means still not null is like that only. Still it is like that only. Okay? Is it clear? Now I'll try to change it. I'm unable to do it using editor. Okay, I'm unable to do it using editor. Can I remove it? No, I'm unable to do it from the editor. But what is the understanding is this statement has deleted only this constraint. Let me query this once again. I'll say fetch. I'll say fetch. Done. See, it is not showing me any constraint here. It is not showing me any constraint name, but still not null constraint is available. Okay, so that's the reason it is not allowing the null value for that. But here I want to remove this x also. One second. Done. This is runtime information. When I double click also, it's not allowing me. So what I'll do now, I'll do one thing here.
When you right click, it has edit option in the definition. Table definition. You did
Sorry,
right click here. You did right click, right? Right click, it has lost edit option.
edit is
I think now
what
it will do.
no, see, it's a remote.
Yeah. Remove that also.
Sorry, yeah, one second. There's a mouse problem for me. One second. Yeah, I'll just remove this. Yeah, it has removed now. Okay, it has removed alter table. Done. Could not execute alter table so and so feature not supported. Cannot add nullable constraints on primary key column. Okay, okay.
You can try to save the task. Yes.
Now I'm unable to execute this. One second. But it is not showing me that what? Not null there. I'll do one thing. I'll try to insert duplicate value now. Effect. Cannot insert what? Null or update to null. It is not allowing now. When I try to alter, it is saying that what is the error? It is saying it could not execute what? Alter table so and so done. Okay. Null feature not supported. Cannot add nullable constraints on primary key column. Cannot add nullable constraints on primary key column. It is not allowing me from here. I'll do one thing. I'll say here alter table. What is the table name? Test emp what 12. Okay. Alter. I'm just checking the syntax. Alter emp id integer else null. Whether this will be allowed. Effect feature not supported. Cannot add nullable constraints on primary key column. Okay, 1 second. I'll try to use modify. Effect incorrect syntax. No, it's not supported. I'll just remove this. Incorrect syntax. Now modify is not supported here. I'll
Mainly
just change it.
definition can be saved after modifications to the need.
No. We don't have that option, Shiva.
Mhm. Because if you see
One
first,
second.
for example,
I'll
once
try to
uh,
save.
yeah.
I'm trying to save that.
Mhm.
No change. No change.
Okay.
No change. Okay. I'll add it once again. Now it is coming. Okay. You understood now? Okay. Now when I'm doing it, it's not giving me any error. So I'm unable to edit from here. Okay. Let me check the syntax. Drop constraint. But constraint name it is not showing. So what to do now? Alter table name. Alter is not supporting anymore. Alter emp id. I'll simply say null. No, not allowing. So here I'll say alter emp id. Okay, I'll say null. I'm trying to use the different syntaxes. No, it is also not allowing. So I'll say alter emp id integer null. Cannot add nullable constraints on primary key column. So we have the solution for this. The solution is here we are creating the table, we are creating the constraint at the time of table definition. So if you do like this, what is happening? The constraint name is proposed by what? SAP. So if you want to drop that constraint, I need to query it from the system way I'm trying to drop. But what is the problem with the approach? I need to identify the constraint name explicitly. And another problem is it is dropping only the unique feature on the primary key. It is not dropping the not null this thing. So what you have to do is we should never create the. It is recommended not to create the constraints like this. Okay, we have other syntax. We have to use something called as alter table name, add constraint name. Okay, so the advantage of that statement is we can provide your own constraint name so that we'll have better management in the constraint. At any point after, if you want to drop that, you can drop that particular constraint very easily. But here, it is not dropping the null constraint. Hmm. Okay, let me check whether this syntax, whether we have any feature to drop the what not null feature. It is saying that clearly it is saying cannot add nullable constraints on the primary key column, but already I removed the primary key and you can see the query also. Even if I query also, it is not showing me any constraint, but it is still saying that cannot add on the primary key column, and I'm unable to do it in the definition also. I'll try to say alter table. Should not execute. Okay, done. I'll right click on this. I'll say it once again. I'm trying to edit once again. It is not allowing me. Last 2 minutes, just hold on. I'll right click on this. Okay, I removed it. Okay, it is removed now. I'll try to execute. No, it is giving me error. It is giving me error.
This table was created with the primary key concept, right? Primary key is the concept of key and not null combination. Maybe
Yeah,
constraint
combination
is
of
only,
unique and
yeah, constraint is only for key, but not for the not null. So
yeah.
it's not suggestive to delete like that.
Whatever the constraint it is showing, it is
Yeah,
showing only for the unique feature. Okay,
unique feature.
so
Yeah,
I'll do one thing. One small change I'll do. This is what type of table? Roster,
this is roster.
roster. No? I'll quickly
Alter table, alter column. You have one more option, right? Alter
and
column.
yeah, I'll change it to column store. F8. The table definition will be modified. If I refresh, okay, sorry, not here. Yeah, it's successfully executed only. I'll right click on this. Let me close this once. I'll refresh. I'll open the definition. Yeah, it is changed to what? A column store. It is changed to column store. Now I'll try to edit. Okay, I removed it. No, whether this column store also, it is not allowing me. I'll check whether it is possible or not. At this stage, I cannot say that yes or no because it is clearly saying feature is not supported. Okay, so let me check whether we have any option on this. If you query that particular constraints also, it is clearly saying that constraint is not available. Let me query once again. Yeah, it is not showing any constraint because I have dropped that constraint, but it has dropped only the unique functionality, not the not null functionality. So I need to check whether it's possible or not. You also try. If you have time now, just try it. Is it clear to everyone? Okay. The problem with this approach is this is the problem with this approach. What is that? Never create the constraint like this because the developer will not have the option to provide what user defined constraint names. So every time when I want to drop the constraint, I need to query that particular constraints from the system view called as what constraints. Okay, and the constraint name will be what in the lengthy naming convention, which should be difficult to remember. That is the reason by using alter statement, we have the option to give our own constraint name that anyone will cover tomorrow. And tomorrow I'll check whether it is possible to remove the not null feature also. But as of now, it says that feature is not supported. Not supported. So if you have any other syntax, you try from your end also and let me know if you get the result. Okay. So any other questions apart from this one?
Sridhar, we are fine.
Yeah, others, Sudhanshu, you are
Yeah,
unmuted. Any
sir, I have one
questions?
question. So in SQL, we have a command like truncate to truncate the data in a table. So
Okay.
here,
Hmm.
here in HANA, we have like that command we can use, or
Yes, yes,
we
yes.
use edit sequence.
Yes, I think already. One second. I don't know whether you have referred the notes or not. One second.
Actually, sir, I missed the class today morning because
No,
I'm
not
power
today.
sick here.
Not today. One second. In the last class. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. There is. Yes, here we have truncate. I think I missed it here. Truncate is there. Yes, and every database it will be available, Sudhanshu. Okay. The difference between delete and truncate is delete if you use a delete statement. we can delete the data and we can get back the data by using what rollback. But as truncate, it will delete the data completely, permanently. I cannot again get back the data. So my answer is yes, truncate is also available. We have the
Uh,
truncate also.
okay, sir, I have one more question. Like in SQL, we can disable and enable a constraint.
Correct.
So
Here
like
also, yes. Here also, I use what syntax? Alter table, table name, drop constraint, constraint name. Na? So if you
yes,
want to temporarily suspend the constraint, okay, instead of using drop, what? Say disable, enable. Alter table, table name, disable constraint, constraint name. If you want to get back that constraint, enable constraint, constraint name. Yes, possible. So we can temporarily suspend it. Again, we can get back it by using enable statement. Whereas drop will completely remove it. Here also is possible. Whatever is SQL is standard language. So the concept will remain same for any database. Here also it is available.
yeah, okay, sir.
Yeah.
Can you try last try for this
Which one?
column,
Hmm.
alter column, alter
Alter table or column?
column. In the top we have already second bottom second line.
Okay. This one. Okay. Alter.
Alter column.
Okay.
Here instead of null keep not null. Remove this integer.
1 second.
Integer not required.
Parenthesis is required. Okay. Let us
Ah,
try.
yeah, yeah.
Let us try. I'll say fit. No,
Mm,
incorrect syntax. Yeah, in different database, the syntax will be different, Shiva. If you
okay,
take Oracle database, we have that syntax, alter column, column name, alter column,
okay.
column name. But here it is not there. So let me remove this parenthesis. Anyway, it is null. I'll say null now. Because by default it is not null. Na. So I'll
Yeah,
say
yeah.
fit. No, not supported. Not supported.
Okay. No problem.
Let
We'll
me check.
try that. We'll try
Yeah,
that
let us
here.
check it. Yeah, whether we have that feature or not, we don't know. Let me check it. Okay. Yeah, any other doubts, others? Yeah, this is my number, Sandeep. You can call me. Right, so we'll continue tomorrow. I believe I've shared the recordings with everyone. So I'll share this recording also.
Sir, that vendor details can you share, sir?
Yeah, I saw your message. I was out of session for 3 4 days. Okay, I'll share it in next 2 3 hours. Okay, I'll share it for everyone. Hmm?
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. Then others, any questions?
No,
So we'll
sir.
continue tomorrow with the other statements like alter, how to create our own constraint name. Okay, we'll discuss that thing. If you have time, try to search that syntax if it is possible or not. We have deleted the primary key constraint, but it has not deleted the not null functionality. Only unique constraint is deleted. So check any possibilities there. I'll also check from my end.
Sure, sure, sir. Thank you.
Yeah. So then some winding off. We'll continue tomorrow.
Bye. Bye.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.